Greetings, respected viewers. I am George from Ireland, and this video is explaining how it was the Soviet Union, more so than any other country, that won the Second World War, because it's Victory Day very shortly, the 9th of May. So the victory in the Second World War is celebrated in Russia and other erstwhile Soviet republics on the 9th of May, not on the 8th of May. Why? When the Third Reich surrendered, it was already 9th of May Moscow time, but it was the 8th of May German time, because it was late at night. So it's apposite to pay homage to the people of the former Soviet Union for winning that war, and no other country could have won it. So in Western countries, such as the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, and so on, but some people are patting themselves on the back and saying that their country won the Second World War. And obviously Western countries did contribute. People fought, and the countries did everything they could to produce arms and so on, and many people laid down their lives. So I'm not denying individual valor, but the overall courage in the Soviet Union had to be so much greater, because so many more people were killed. So it's obtuse to claim that any Western country primarily won it. Really, it was the Soviet Union. 75% of the German army was engaged in battle on the Eastern Front. And Germany's satellites were also fighting primarily on the Eastern Front, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary. And there were some collaborationist regimes in the occupied territories, such as Slovakia or Croatia, who were also fighting there on the Eastern Front. Some Italian troops were sent to the Eastern Front. Spain, though formerly neutral, sent División Azul to the Eastern Front to fight alongside the Wehrmacht. Now, though some of those occupied countries I mentioned, such as Croatia, I acknowledge, of course, there were some Croats who were partisans who were fighting against the Axis power. The same in Slovakia, which had a national uprising towards the end of the war. So I'm not trying to say any nation is good or bad or be insulting to anyone. And there were some Vichy Frenchmen who formed La Légion Volontaire Française to fight on the Eastern Front. Or there were SS volunteers from Belgium, Denmark, Norway, and Bosnia and so on. Not insulting the French, the Danes, or any other nationality, and they had resistance fighters too, but just telling the plain truth. So it's time to salute people of the former Soviet Union, and they're the ones who did the bulk of the fighting. Kazakhs, Russians, Ukrainians, Armenians, Kyrgyz people, Tajiks, Turkmens, Uzbeks, Azerbaijanis, Georgians, Moldovans, Belarusians, and so forth. Latvians, Lithuanians, and Estonians. So all the republics of the former Soviet Union. There was even a Karelian republic as well. So they had the matchless valor to stand up to the Third Reich, which obviously had an abominable political system, which was viciously racist, which aimed to literally enslave, literally the people of the former Soviet Union. And that's why there was such staggering sacrifice of the people of the former Soviet Union. 1 in 6 people in the Soviet Union killed. 1 in 6. It's mind-blowing. Far higher casualties than were sustained by any Western country. Western countries would not have had the stomach for that fight. They would have given up long before that, negotiated peace, or even been willing to capitulate rather than suffer that much. So the contribution of the USSR is hard to overestimate. I know people in the Occident might say, oh yes, but we manufactured weapons. The United States was the arse of democracy and we shipped arms to the Soviet Union. Yes, that's true. But nevertheless, 95% of the weapons used by the Soviet Union was Soviet produced. So that's why this is such a huge part of the psyche in Russia and some other former Soviet countries. Is really hard to exaggerate its importance in shaping the national character. And that's why the Victory Day Parade is held annually and has such fanfare, there's such a long national holiday at that time, while you'll see the orange and black ribbons everywhere, while people will often be walking around with a photo of their relative who fought in the war, and even President Putin will be doing that among the crowd as an everyman, just like an ordinary citizen too. So you'll see these serried rows of immaculate soldiery striding across Red Square with martial tunes ringing out, and there's a gleam of pride in the geriatric veterans. They've been ravaged by the decades, but their hearts are still stirred. And there will be a lusty cry of "Hurrah!" as in hooray, which harks back to Tsarist times. It's a magnificent and a solemn occasion, and I suppose also a joyful occasion towards the end. So people in Western countries ought to acknowledge this and not exaggerate the role they've played. Now, I come from the Republic of Ireland. My country was neutral, so that's that. I'm not embarrassed about that. Our government chose to stay at peace, which was very popular at the time. Often it's heavily criticised. I sometimes wonder whether our Taoiseach, Eamon de Valera, ought to have brought us into the war, certainly after a bomb by the Luftwaffe, or certainly after Belfast was. But anyway, we didn't. So I'm not sneering at anyone or putting down any country or suggesting my country is courageous. It's not. I've never been anywhere near a war myself. I don't wish to. And that's that. And yes, it's true, some people from the south of Ireland did volunteer for Allied forces. So what I'm doing is setting the record straight, saying people ought to face up to the historical truth, even if they find that unpalatable, and to put away chauvinistic myths about how much their country achieved. And that's that. Don't let's be beastly to the Germans, not suggesting that all German people were bad or anything like that. But that's that. It was primarily the Soviet Union that won the Second World War, and Westerners ought to face up to that.